Hello, hello, and welcome one, welcome all. Welcome to this live video. All right, let me know if you're hearing me loud and clear in the chat. That would be fantastic. So I'm just waiting for some confirmation in the chat to let me know if you're hearing me loud and clear in the chat. All right, so again, welcome one, welcome all. If you're new to this space, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, listener, subscriber, welcome back, welcome back. All right, so we kind of hear some bells, some bells ringing. And perhaps we're getting warm in the context of the general elections in Jamaica. All right, so the big question is, when will the Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness, call the general elections? All right, so that's the big question. And also, who will win the election? Will it be the Jamaica Labour Party or will it be the People's National Party? So we want to hear from you in the context of these questions. So do not be afraid to just share there in the chat and be a part of this, interactive conversation while it lasts. All right, so in this context, as you know, we carry quite a few programs here, and we're also on this election watch. All right, we have been there. We have also kind of, right now, I don't even remember, but I guess my co host at some point will pop in and perhaps remind me of the date that we had projected. But perhaps we could go back to that, video to get an understanding of what that date was and the reasoning behind that date. But man, we have been waiting for so long for the elections to be called, and we're yet to get an update in that context. So, but I am still thinking, and I'm not sure if that was the date that I put forward, that the elections are going to be in the summer months, right? That's my take. And before school, right? Before students go back to school, that's what I am foreseeing. But the other day, we're having a conversation, and the question was, is the Prime Minister waiting for the rains and the hurricanes and all of that? But I don't know. But there must be a method to his thing, right? There must be a method to waiting. And so we'll definitely see. We saw recently that he has gotten back in the number one spot in terms of, I believe it was the Don Anderson poll. I believe that was the poll. And so again, we're still asking the big question: who will win the next general elections when they are called in Jamaica? So that's a big question. We recognize too that a few people, or perhaps at least one, have switched over the weekend. French, all right, they're in St. Anne. All right, so French has switched somewhat, and we see that things are warming up. The Prime Minister was in Clarendon, ringing bell, ringing a bell, and so it's like he's teasing us, and the PNP, they're there, on their campaign trail. So based on what we're seeing from both parties, we know that we're getting closer and closer to that point when the Prime Minister will call the elections. So my co-host is going to just chip in here for a bit. Ovi, welcome to the chat.
Bonjour. I
Wagwan.
I have to say bonjour because of what is happening, as you mentioned. And before I get into this, let me say hello and welcome to each and everyone that is here with us. And it's getting into the election season. The bell is being rung, and once that is happening, you know that it's coming close to that time when the announcement might be made in terms of the election. and we're not sure who will win this one this time, but we're excited to see how things unfold. So that's what we're here discussing, and as I said, activities have been stepping up. The PM has been going around, persons have been switching, and getting their house in order to get ready for the election. But I was guessing that it would be close after the budget was read, but the honorable prime minister had other ideas in terms of when he wants to call this one, and we're still awaiting that right now. So I'm coming back over to you, my co-host.
Well, do not leave me because I really want to ask you this question. So, yes, it was the Don Anderson poll. So, a recent, Don Anderson poll, and I guess it was commissioned by the RJR Gleaner group. All right. And that poll showed that the Mr. Holness, Prime Minister Holness, held a 7.5 percentage point lead in favorability over the Honorable Mark Golding. So I wanted to get a sense, and we heard Desmond McKenzie over the weekend sharing that, pretty much that Jamaicans are fed up and tired of Mark Golding. I'm not too sure, but what is your take on those sentiments, and especially with this percentage point now, with the prime minister taking, I guess, this lead at this point? Do you believe that it is now or never for the prime minister in that context? Do you think that this lead will continue to increase? Just to get a sense of what your views are.
Well, we know we can't trust the polls 100%. However, the fact that he is leading on the poll, it means that things are trending in the right direction for him. And it might be the best time for him to call the election. And that could also be a case where confidence is being lost in the opposition party as well. So that's pretty much how I view it. But the time is winding out for the rest of this year, and based, as I said, based on the activities, I am sure that it's going to be called really, really soon. And I might add this as well, based on how the Prime Minister is communicating, to his followers, to the JLP supporters. He is not taking anything for chance, and probably that is why he's a little bit reluctant to call it, but before he knows that I have all my seats settled, everything is on a particular level, and I'm giving my best, giving my party the best chance to win, a third term in. So that's pretty much how I view it. But I don't read too much into the polls. But if it is heading in his direction, he has to just count it as a plus, and I would say go with it.
Well, that's a very good point to highlight in the context of the polls, because at some point too, the honorable opposition leader, Mr. Golding, he had, that over the prime minister at some point. And so at this point, and then you want to say that this was objectively done, and I'm going to give credit in that sense because I don't know otherwise. And so in that context, right, let's say we're not just looking at the poll, right, the results of the poll in that context regarding the favorability. What other aspects would you use to measure whether or not the PNP are en route to winning this election, for example, or these elections, for example? Like, what would you use? Is there, or I guess let me just be blunt here. Do you believe the PNP will win the elections when they're called? Just asking, because I mean, they were on a momentum, at some, but I feel like for them it has been just, it's like a roller coaster where we're not getting that maintained consistency. That's just my take on it, but I feel that they will do something this election. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to remove the government, the Jamaica Labour Party as the government, but I am hoping to see, because you want to have that strong democracy in that context. But I'm coming over to you.
Yes, just to pick up on your point, we want the strong democracy for sure. So we want two strong parties in that, will definitely go up and above board to make sure that the people of Jamaica is well taken care of. But just to focus on the PNP, I'm sure they're putting in a lot of groundwork. They are going to give themselves the best chance going forward as well. The switching and movement of some of their members, they have looked on it in a positive way, saying that, we don't want anybody who are not sure about themselves in our party. So, it's better for them to go at this point in time. So that's pretty much what the leader was saying. And, I guess you want people around you who you can trust too. And that's probably
Well, I
where
guess that
he's
was in
coming
the
from.
context of French. In Xavier means that's in Saint Anne there. But I am not too sure how much of a weight that was for the PNP. I don't think they lost anything much there, because French did not win in the, that's my recollection, if that serves me well, did not win in the local government election. It was the JLP that won. So I'm not sure if the PMP lost much there in the context of ground, but just the optics of it, at this point, people are going to say, oh, they're moving. But in terms of saying it's a very heavy weight that they have lost, I don't think that is the case, and should not change much, given that switch. But what I want to point out, though, we see, as you mentioned, the PMP, they're trying to be very strategic in terms of some of their members and where they're placing them. So, for example, now we know that Bunting is going to run in South Manchester. What do you think about that in the context of Bunting? Do you see Bunting taking that? South Manchester.
Well, Peter Bunting has been in Manchester. He was in central Manchester, lost there. And I think South Manchester has always been a strong point, a strong seat for the PNP team. And I'm presuming that that is why they placed him there. And he will definitely go down there and might be able to take that seat for the PNP. So, I think they're giving themselves the best opportunity to win the seats, finding their strong points and ensuring that areas, seats that they have dominated over the years, they're able to claim that so that they can put, their house in order and get closer to getting back into Garden House.
Oh, absolutely. And I agree with that point in the context of South Manchester, and definitely one that we'll be following up on. And also one that I'll be following up on is the move with Wicca McNeil going now to run alongside Tova Hamilton there in Trelawney. So that's another one that we're definitely going to keep an eye out on. And Wicca McNeil was in Westmoreland and lost there to Moreland Wilson, I believe. And so that sent him packing. But to me, it's kind of strange that they are not, he's not staying in Westmoreland, and he has now gone to run alongside Tova Hamilton there in Trelawney. So that is something that we're going to zoom up on and to bring some information to you and in that context. And I think right now what we're saying to you is that you need to just stick and stay with us, and come on over for the election talk. We're going to go back on those those can have to go back to having those conversations in the context of Jamaica Votes 2025. And one of the things that we're going to do, we're going to look at each constituency and try to make a prediction. So one of the things that, was pretty much hindering this conversation was the fact that some of the seats, the constituencies in terms of representatives were not settled. But now I believe we're in a better place in the context of, the persons who will be running, at least from the two main political parties. So we're definitely anticipating having those conversations with you, and we hope that you will stick and stay with us. We hope that you will be here to call in, to share, and to be respectful and to keep it real and respectful as we always do, giving everyone a voice, whether you're P or no P. We understand one thing for sure, that we're all Jamaicans, and we want to ensure that the 876 is well represented and that people living within Jamaica land we love are supported by our leaders, right? Our political leaders, because that is definitely important. So I'm doing a quick roll call now. Let me know if you're in the chat and where you're tuned in from. And again, if you're here, please remember to hit the like button, the share button, and of course, the subscription button. And don't be afraid to leave questions that you'll have for us in the chat. And also let us know, who do you believe is going to win the next general elections? Will it be the Jamaica Labour Party, or will it be the People's National Party? And that's a big question, and I would love to hear from you, the people. You have a vote. Let us know not who you're voting for, but let us know, who do you believe is going to win the next general elections, and what are some things that you're looking forward to seeing from your political representatives, or what are some things that your political representatives have not done for you over the past few years. We would love to hear your voice and your take on those things. All right. So again, ensure that you come on and stick and stay with us. And again, the big question is, what is the Prime Minister waiting for to call the general elections? That's definitely a big question that we would love to answer and would love to know why. And we are assuming, well, I am assuming at this point, that somewhere there in the summer months, in the summer months, like somewhere there in August before school, because I would feel disappointed if it goes into the school term somewhat. I don't know, but yeah, that's the situation. But Ovi, your take. When do you believe the general elections will be called? And I'm going to go back to that video, to find out what my reasoning was at the time and the project. But I'm almost certainly somewhere within this period, for sure. Your take, or if you have any final comments that you'd like to make before we call this one.
All right, so I believe that it's going to be soon, because based on the activity, the recent activities, that is happening with all these meetings popping up around the country. So I'm going to go late July, just so that the celebrations in August will be made nicer by whichever party wins.
Well, I think it's going to be after the celebrations, but I could be, because the planning and everything, I think it's going to be after. So they're going to take that, and I don't know. I just think it's going to be after, but we'll see. That's the beauty of it all. We'll just have to wait and see, what will happen in that context. So, guys, this is really to wake you guys back up and to let you know that we'll be here. All right, we will be here. And Lots of things happening, and again, we can let you know that some of the constituencies we know, for example, from both parties. So we're going to start that, and we want you to be a part of these conversations. So ensure that you're sticking and staying with us. Thank you so much for being here and for listening. We really, really appreciate you being here with us. And we'll definitely see you in the next live. So, right now, if we get an update, we'll be right back to keep you posted. So, again, the big question: when will the Prime Minister call the elections and who will win? Your guess is as good as mine. Thank you so much for tuning in, and blessings and love, everyone. And we'll definitely see you in the next live. Bye for now.